When President Donald Trump welcomed Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu to the White House, we knew the outcome would be significant. After all, it was Trump who'd provided the impetus for the current ceasefire and hostage deals. But nobody expected this. The most powerful nation on earth volunteering to take responsibility for Gaza, where the latest war has been just one in a history of intractable enmity.
We're going to take over that piece and we're going to develop it, create thousands and thousands of jobs, and it'll be something that the entire Middle East can be very proud of. But everybody feels that continuing the same process that's gone on forever, over and over again, and then it starts, and then the killing starts, and all of the other problems start, and you end up in the same place, and we don't want to see that happen.
In an instant, the Middle East is transformed, and where it will end, good or ill, nobody can say for sure yet. But of course, somebody has to provide security in Gaza. Somebody has to eliminate Hamas and keep them at bay, rebuild society and keep the peace. Somebody has to carve out a future where all previous ventures have failed. And to be frank, the United Nations is so discredited on Middle East policy, it can have no meaningful role. It's just that nobody expected this. Donald Trump and America taking control of the Gaza Strip and ownership of the problem.
In Gaza, Israel has three goals: destroy Hamas's military and governing capabilities, secure the release of all of our hostages, and ensure that Gaza never again poses a threat to Israel. I believe, Mr. President, that your willingness to puncture conventional thinking that has failed time and time and time again, your willingness to think outside the box with fresh ideas will help us achieve all these goals.
Everybody I've spoken to loves the idea of the United States owning that piece of land, developing and creating thousands of jobs with something that will be magnificent in a really magnificent area that nobody would know. Nobody can look because all they see is death and destruction and rubble and demolished buildings falling all over. It's just a terrible sight. I've studied it. I've studied this very closely over a lot of months, and I've seen it from every different angle. And it's a very, very dangerous place to be. And it's only going to get worse. And I think this is an idea that's gotten tremendous, and I'm talking about from the highest level of leadership, gotten tremendous praise. And if the United States can help to bring stability and peace in the Middle East, we'll do that.
So much for Gaza being run by Gazans. I guess they ended that experiment on October the 7th, 2023. So much for those who feared another extended Israeli occupation. They haven't been in Gaza since 2005, so why would they want to go back? So much for those who thought the United Nations could lead peacekeepers there. They've given us UNRWA, which had terrorists in its ranks. They've failed before, especially in southern Lebanon, where they were supposed to keep Hezbollah and its armoury out. So much for Hamas trying to drive a wedge between Israel and the United States and keep Western interests out of the Middle East. So much for Donald Trump and traditional American isolationism. So much for keeping American troops and American lives out of foreign war zones. There are so many questions. Does this really mean American ownership or colonisation? And how can that stand? Will Gazans stay or go? And if large numbers of them are to leave, how will Trump and Netanyahu convince neighbouring nations like Egypt and Jordan to accept them? How will US troops deal with terrorists intent on killing them and perpetuating conflict? How will American voters tolerate this new American expansionism and exposure to conflict? Trump has upended everything in global democracy in one fell swoop. And it's the boldest challenge yet to the malevolent influence of Iran in the region, whose pursuit of nuclear weapons Trump warned against today.
I really want to see peace, and I hope that we're able to do that. They cannot have a nuclear weapon. It's very simple. I'm not putting restrictions. They cannot have one thing. They cannot have a nuclear weapon. And if I think that they will have a nuclear weapon, despite what I just said, I think that's going to be very unfortunate for them. If, on the other hand, they can convince us that they won't, and I hope they can, it's very easy to do. It's actually very easy to do. I think they're going to have an unbelievable future.
It's too early to make sensible judgments about what will unfold. The Trump intervention is too dramatic for that, and reactions and details will keep emerging for days and weeks to come. The potential for mistakes, for trauma and setbacks is high, but the opportunities for a peaceful reset are also unprecedented. Hamas, Hezbollah, Islamic Jihad, Islamic State, the Houthis and Iran will all hate this, and that's all to the good. The reaction of Saudi Arabia and Egypt, among others, will be crucial. I've always argued that the United States' biggest mistake over the Iraq War was abandoning the region afterwards. They needed to maintain a presence to secure the peace. But Barack Obama took all US troops out, just as Joe Biden abandoned Afghanistan to the Taliban. So US presence can be a stabilising influence, and it can act as a guarantor for security. But it can also act as an irritant and a magnet for jihadist terrorists everywhere, especially if they believe the commitment is negotiable or temporary. Palestinians will not voluntarily give up Gaza, and the Arab world won't expect them to do so. We should strap ourselves in and hope for the best, but prepare for more difficulties.